Uh, yes, and good news, I have a new Dropbox. So everything that's been recorded is going to be in one Dropbox, and everybody will get to all the recordings without me having to email it or post it onto Facebook. I've got a new team member in the office that actually knows what she's doing, not like me, on these Dropbox things. So she's got me set up, or has us set up, I should say. So if you don't have yourself muted, go ahead and do that. Otherwise it'll take me to do it. And sometimes I accidentally mute Tom, and he's the one that's supposed to be speaking. Good morning, Tom. How are you?
Good morning. How are we doing, guys? I wanted to share with you this morning, this is a book. The name of the book is Mistaken Identity. And this was an event that occurred on April 26, 2006. It was a group of students, college students, returning from Taylor University in Indiana when a semi-truck crossed the median and hit this van. And there were a couple that were following the van. His name was Tom and his wife, Jennifer. And when they got there, I mean, the van was absolutely torn apart. You had, nine, the driver and students that were on the van were kind of all over the place. And so there was a young lady, there was two young ladies that basically students that looked almost, very, very similar. And someone took the purse from Whitney and from Laura and put it next to the student Whitney. And I mean, all of them were unconscious at the time when the medvacs came and transported them. And so when this young lady got to the hospital, she had swelling, her brain was swelling inside her head, and I mean, intensive care, bandages, and everything else for a long time. And so the families were notified. The coroner who examined the accident really didn't do a great job, didn't do dental records or anything else. And so this young student who was, I think 18, she was in the hospital, and she was identified as Laura Van Ryn. And so the family, the other young student that was there, her name was Whitney Sarek. And so Whitney's parents had been notified that their daughter had been killed in the accident. And the coroner had suggested and recommended to the family that they not go and view the body because of the state that it was in. And they took the coroner's advice. And so they went on preparing to have a funeral for Whitney. And they had a funeral, and the records showed that there were thousands, there for her funeral. And so the Van Ryns, had who they thought was their daughter in the hospital. And so they ministered to her around the clock for 5 weeks or so. And as their daughter that they thought was their daughter was getting better, when they started interacting, they were saying strange things. And again, because all of the bandage and everything else they had. And so about the 5th week, the Van Ryan's other daughter, was in there talking to who she thought was her sister, and asked her name. He said, "What's your name?" And she said, "Whitney." And she said, "What's your last name?" And she said, "Sarek." And she noticed that her sister, thought to be sister, had a pierced belly button, and thought, well, my sister never would have done that. And so they started to talk with the hospital concerning that. And so the hospital got involved and started investigating and looking at this, and realized that the person that the Van Ryns had ministered to for 5 weeks was not their daughter. It was Whitney Sarek that they were taking care of. And so the hospital ended up calling the Sarek family, and about 2 a.m. in the morning, and said, we need to tell you something. And
Wow.
so the mother said, what is it that you want to tell me? They said, we believe that your daughter is still alive. And her husband was out on a road trip working, a business trip, and was working. And it was just, monumental. And that the Van Ryn family, who was there ministering to who they thought was their daughter for 5 weeks, they're leaving the hospital understanding that this is not their daughter. And yet now they understand that their daughter has already been buried in another state with a funeral and everything else. And so, both couples, ended up on Oprah, and of just sharing the experience about that. And I was listening to a recording by Whitney, and how she said, I felt kind of guilty. She said, because, the other 4 were already in heaven with the Lord, and here I am here, and I'm missing them. And so she ended up later getting married to her high school sweetheart, and has 2 or 3 children, and have gone around the country telling her story. And she wrote this book, Mistaken Identity. And I think if you ask me, well, what's the process here? What is it that you're trying to get over? What I'm trying to get to is what Jesus said when the people came to him and said, your mother and your family is outside. And Jesus said, for whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and my sister and my mother. And the amount of time and care that the Van Ryn gave to who they thought was their daughter, around the clock, 24-hour vigilant, to help who they thought their daughter was. But when it comes to God, there is no mistaken identity with him. He loves us, and he is with us 24 hours a day. And he knows us. He knows whether or not we have a pierced belly button, whether or not we have, he knows the sin that we have in our life. He knows the struggles that we go through. He knows when the rejections that we have faced and all of these other things. And yet he is with us, and he is with us vigilantly, 24 hours a day. So, this story that the mistaken identity is not a quote happy ending, but it was families who loved the Lord and understood, how great God is. And the families kind of became close at one time, just realizing, the process. The coroner there in Indiana, really botched it by not doing the dental records or any of the other things that's there, and how he ended up bringing more trauma to the lives of these people. But at the end, Whitney survived, and she said most people don't know what someone will say to them at their funeral. But she said, I do, because they recorded the entire funeral. And so she heard everyone. Her coach, who said she was really not a great athlete, and a sister that was talking about her, and everyone else. So she said, I'm already one who has lived through my own funeral and knows where we are. So I just encourage all of us, that Jesus is the one who has that vigilance, with us all the time. And he doesn't leave us, and he knows us intimately. And there's no struggle that we have that he is not with us and for us and being able to support us. Let's pray. Holy righteous Father, things happen in life, and many of the traumas and things that we go through, we sometimes don't have an understanding. We don't have an answer. We don't have, a rationale that we can talk about. But Father, we know that through all of life issues and the trials and the tribulations that we go through, that you are always there. You love us. You will never leave us through accidents, through death, through whatever we face in this life. You are there and you love us. And Father, we want you to be, I want you to be my brother. I want you to be my savior. I want you to be, Father, the person that I can always go to, and Father, you can always take care of me and support me. And I pray, Father, that everyone on this call, will understand how good our God is and how much he loves us and how much he wants us to come to him and seek his face. And so we lift you up this morning through your son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Wow, that's that's a great story. I remember that when it was in the news.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested in reading that book. That's really, really interesting. Most of us on here are parents and can certainly relate to the joy that family felt when they realized their child was alive. But gosh, the pain that other family had to feel when they realized that wasn't their daughter.
She was already in a grave. They had to go and exhume the body and then have a funeral, for Laura.
Wow. I can't imagine going through that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Tom. You're always just right on top of it with the sharing the word. We're so grateful. Thank you so much. Let's go to Brian Maddox. I'm pretty sure I saw you on here. There you are.
Good morning.
What's going on in this crazy world of real estate rates?
I almost feel like I have to wait to speak until you say, oh, I found them. Because if I talk, I might spook you or something.
No, actually, when you talk, you light up green around your box and I can see it a lot easier.
So big news in the markets this week is the Fed had a meeting. They spoke on Wednesday. All was going great. So leading up to the Fed meeting, rates were kind of getting better a little bit at a time. We had like 4 weeks of rates getting worse every week. So it was nice to see. And then the Fed came out and they were speaking and all was well with the world. And then they released a separate statement outside of their Fed minutes, and the separate statement tanked the markets. So basically, to summarize, what they're talking about is inflation, and they're saying that inflation is a problem. This has been the headline for a year, that the Fed had to deal with inflation. And we're basically assuming at this point that we're going to have 125 basis point of increases in rates this year. So that would be that would be 5 quarter-point hikes, but the Fed has come out in the past last month and they said that they anticipated doing 3 hikes this year. So that might mean 1 quarter-point and 2 half-point hikes. So we don't really know exactly how they'll hike the rates up, but they do predict that March is the first rate hike. Now, rate hikes, this is going to sound weird, rate hikes actually help mortgage rates, because what rate hikes do on the Fed is they slow down inflation. And when inflation slows down, bonds, which are a fixed long-term investment, look better. Inflation erodes bonds, right? If you invest in a bond, 100 grand, and you're predicting I'm going to get $2,000 a year off this bond, but then inflation is up at 7%, that basically means that your $2,000 is worth less, right? Because the cost of everything else went up more. So the investment return is less impactful. So to a bond investor, inflation is the evil word that makes it so that I don't want to put my money up long term. It's not going to be worth as much as I'm getting paid. So when the Fed raises the rates, what happens is they taper inflation, mortgage rates actually start to come down. So that's good news. We actually want the Fed to raise rates. That will help kind of reverse this trend of mortgage rates going up. Now, the other thing that they said in this separate statement when they released it after the Fed minutes was, we will start to reduce our balance sheet. Now, what that means is that they're going to be buying less bonds. Well, if there's less buyers, that creates less demand, right? And so how do you raise demand? You have to raise rates in order to increase demand. So them tapering their balance sheet, which is the assets that they're buying are bonds, by them reducing those assets, they're actually going to create hardship in mortgage rates. So we have 2 levers that the Fed can pull. One helps mortgage rates, one hurts mortgage rates. They said that they're going to trigger both. So what does that mean for mortgage rates? Nobody knows, really. Nobody knows. We've never been in this situation. Fannie Mae did say that they think that rates will top out around 4 to 4.25 this year. They came out with that guidance earlier this month. So maybe we're at the top of where rates are going to get. We don't quite know. The other thing that came out was unemployment. Unemployment's looking pretty good. It wasn't quite as strong as it is the last unemployment numbers, but unemployment numbers are something that we've got to watch because it affects the financial markets and the overall kind of the health of the economy, if you will. And I saw one question pop up. Can I explain what
Yes.
a basis point is? So 1%, right? We all understand 1% on a mortgage. 1% is equal to 100 basis points. So 1 basis point is 1/100th of a percent. So when we talk about raising rates 1/4 point or 25 basis points, that's literally 0.25% increase in rates. So a 1/2 point would be 0.5% increase in rates. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That's awesome.
So yeah, so we saw rates really tank Wednesday afternoon after the Fed announcement. The market was kind of like, oh, this is nice, happy place. And then they released that separate statement and the bond market dropped like 80 basis points instantly. So yesterday we made up some of that ground. Today, we're seeing rates really in the high 3s or the low 4s, depending on product and credit score. Still not bad, right? I had a client that was going to buy a house from their parents, and his credit score is a 638. So he was going to get a rate of 4.375. And after I disclosed the rate and told them the payment, they called back and said, yeah, we're going to rent to own. Rates are just too high. And I was just like, 4.375 is too high. Your mortgage is like 130 grand. The interest rate changes your payment like $8, right? Like it's really not making a lot, but oh my God, 4.375. We can't buy a house now. We might as well move into the poorhouse. Oh man, perspective, Wendy.
It is, and it's crazy. I have to laugh. I mean, I remember so vividly when we were really thrilled when we could get, a 5.5 or a 5.75 for a conventional investor loan. It was like, woo! This was, of course, back in 03 and 04, but we were thrilled to be able to get that. So
man,
funny.
Before COVID, it was rare that I could get into the 5s at all for investor loans. Honestly, like with COVID, yeah, we're in the high 4s right now, and 5% is my worst rate today. What's bad actually is that, and this is going too deep, but mortgages are traded on a coupon. They call them a coupon, right? And a coupon is a rate. So that, like right now, we're trading on the 3% coupon, and you've got premiums of the coupon, and there's some, at 5%, there's some profit in that 3% coupon, and you can offset fees. Well, right now, we're still trading on a 3% coupon, but the high end, like if you just put 15% down on your mortgage, you've got the most fees added into that rate. There's not a way to absorb that in the rate. So if you've got good credit, you're getting 5% with no points. If you got bad credit, you're getting 5% with 2 points. So there's not room to hide those extra fees in the rate. And so when I hear high rates, I'm like, man, this is lower than I've ever had in my career. And this is high rates. I mean, it's why it does sometimes. You're just like, okay, I can't fight that. I mean, I guess they're really high.
I know it's crazy. JC Underwood used to talk about when he first got into real estate, they were in the 17-18% range to do a loan.
That's high rate.
And they were making money. So it's all relative, that nobody on our end needs to be freaking out because we understand it's all relative. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome. I hope everybody has a great weekend.
Thank you so much. I wanted to get Don Harris on here real quick. We haven't had him speak lately. And I really just want to talk real quick about what you're seeing sales wise, because this is supposed to be the slow season normally in our real estate sales world. And again, we're having a record-breaking January, and February is already set up to be record-breaking as well. So Don, what is it that you're seeing?
It's more of the same. There's really not a shortage of property. It's just that every property that's put on the market is absorbed so quickly.
Hmm.
There is no life to a listing at any price point. This has been the case. We know on the last year we were talking about the sub 300 or 300 range, and now it's sub 400. So anything under 400 is still considered a bargain and is attracting multiple showings and multiple offers. And this is now evident even in the $1 million category. I put $1 million house in Waxhaw on the market last weekend. I immediately had 19 showing appointments on a $1 million house. 3 offers first day, significantly over ask with ridiculous due diligence on that. So it's at all price points. And I think it's just continuing, money trying to get into a more solid asset.
Yeah. Awesome.
So I don't think it's going to cool down. More property will come on to the market as we get into the spring, but so will more buyers.
Yeah. Yeah. Brian's shaking his head. Yes, he agrees with that too. Awesome. Well, that's good news because I'm getting ready to put one on the market in about 2 weeks. so I'm really excited about that. That's good stuff. Thank you so much, Dawn. I appreciate that. Okay.
Certainly.
So I'm sorry, did you want to say something else?
I said, certainly.
Oh, thank you, Dawn. So folks, Dealmaker 2022 is coming up. You've heard me talk about it a few times. And I can't tell you how great this event is, Dealmaker 2022. It's held in Richmond, Virginia. It's one of Jim Ingersoll's event. He's got a lineup that's just mind-blowing. And he's adding something different to it this year. We're doing, the last day is going to be a half day of a mastermind group. They're splitting the entire room up into 2 different rooms, and Tom Olson's doing one of them. I'm doing the other one. And then midway, we're going to switch. So we're both going to be in both rooms. And Tom and I are really excited. We're getting together. We've been talking about all the different exercises we're going to do. And you're just going to love it. And that's only a small part of it. The speakers are phenomenal. And one of my very favorite speakers is here today. It is Alisha Merriman. How are you, hon?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great also. And, Alisha and I had met before, but we really got to know each other at the short-term rental powwow in Jackson, Mississippi. It's probably been 2 years, almost 2 years since we've done that, at least 1.5 years, right?
It's been a hot minute. I don't remember what year that event.
A hot minute. I love it.
Last July.
So she's in Alabama, and not only is she drop dead gorgeous, but she's just as smart as pretty as she is. So it's amazing all the really cool stuff that you're doing on short-term rentals. And I, wanted you to share that with everybody. So I'm just going to hush my mouth and I'm going to let you go from here. She's got a PowerPoint that she's going to share, folks. And she also shared it with me. So I can email just the PowerPoint to you as well. If you guys want that, I'll put that out. So Alisha, just take it away, hon.
Well, do I have the ability to do?
You do, yes.
Right. Let me get that pulled up for you guys. All right, can you see it?
Yep.
I can make it full screen. Well, hi guys, I am Alisha Merriman, as beautiful Wendy introduced me, and we are going to cover some of the basics of Airbnb at first today, and then we're going to dive into some deeper strategies. And of course, this is my disclaimer. This is for educational purposes. Most of this stuff is from my personal experience in the field. All right, so I'm trying to move this screen where you it's not in your way. For those of you who are not familiar with the Airbnb model, essentially Airbnb is just a online algorithm where you can actually put your own property and rent either by the night, by the week, 30-day plus. So 30-day plus is going to be considered like your extended stay model, where a lot of corporate travelers actually go to. But what is the beautiful draw about Airbnb for a lot of people? Some landlords have the tendency to find themselves in this young man's situation here on the screen. A lot of standard rentals, you end up with evictions, collections, so you're chasing down that regular rental payment, right? Or they pay a percentage, and then mid-month they're going to pay the other half of it. Yeah, it can be a very, very strenuous, as well as there are screenings background. With Airbnb, I'm going to say they don't necessarily vet your tenants the same way you would for a long-term rental, but seeing as a lot of them are staying for like a week or less in most cases, the laws around that per state are different. So in some states it could be as much as like trespassing if they decided not to leave, things like that can apply, as well as there are very few cases of evictions actually having to take place in the short-term rental market as compared to the standard rental market. A lot of regular rentals still go by the 1% rule. Wendy, do you know what the 1% rule is? Yeah, well, it's my personal opinion, I think it's a little outdated. I think that should be bumped up some in the standard rental category for sure. But essentially, if you're going off of that, Airbnbs have the opportunity in most areas, and Wendy actually proved this at that powwow, that the location, it matters, but the average, and you can read here on my first bullet point by Price Economics, the average net per month per unit for Airbnb hosts is $924, and that is nationwide. So location matters, of course, but having an Airbnb, your spread is going to be closer to a 2 to 3, even 4% per month compared to that of the 1% standard rental. It's a beautiful thing. I think Wendy has quite a few properties that are actually performing, and they're not in destination. So there's no beach or mountain range. There's nothing drawing people to that area, just other than basic travel, family, that kind of thing. So let's talk about some of the macros of Airbnb. I'm going to drag this bar here. Some of the macros being market research, ideal property, target market, and hired helpers. One of the macros that I actually normally include here is actually city ordinances, but because all of you are from so far such different vast areas, I didn't want to include that because it might be different than what I tell you compared to my area. So let's see. I will say, before we really get into the throes of this business, vacancy is the one thing that will kill this business. So avoiding vacancy at all costs, like always keep that in the back of your mind. So there's two things I always say to myself. Am I doing an income generating task? That's my day, as well as am I avoiding vacancy? What can I do today to keep my calendar filled? And these are the principles of a high occupancy rate. And just so you guys know, when a hotel, let's use a Comfort Inn, they're building that actual hotel motel off of a 72% occupancy rate. If their market research does not tell them that they can at least get a 72% occupancy rate, they will actually not build that building. They shut down the project. So having a high occupancy rate, that is the breath of life in this business. Of course, we're going to talk about the first one, location, that matters. Marketing, so how you put yourself out there. You need to cast more lines, okay? Have fillers. Even whenever my properties are full, I'm running ads all the time. And essentially, when someone calls me about one particular property, even if that property is booked for their trip that they need it, I try to take that same person and I will funnel them into a different property. Okay. So I'm keeping my ads going all the time. Pricing strategy. Oh, this changed my life after Pam Whitworth talked about it at Powwow, at the Airbnb Powwow. I was kicking myself, Wendy. Essentially, I got revenue management software. The one I chose was pricelabs.co. And for those of you who don't know, this revenue management software, it links directly to your Airbnb and it changes the daily rate based on supply and demand in that micro area. So not even the zip code, as close down as to like a community. It compares what's available in your network or in your local community, and it will change your price accordingly. I learned that at most of my properties, I was leaving about $750 to $1,000 above and beyond what I was getting on the table every single month. Well, when you start multiplying that by 10, 15, 20 properties, that is a significant dollar amount. So revenue management software for me, again, it's pricelabs.co. I'm going to show a list further on in the presentation. Amenities. So what do you offer? Are people coming there because you're child friendly? Do you have like a crib, playpen, that kind of stuff? Are they coming there because it's a destination with a hot tub? Like, what is the draw? Cleanliness. That is the number one complaint. You're going to hear about it if you don't take good care of your properties. And they don't have to be upgraded necessarily, but they need to be clean. And then getting good reviews. So making that review, that person, I try to make mine ambassadors. And what do I mean by ambassador? I mean a refeeding client. So I always tell them if they were a good guest that we welcome them back. I let them know in the review that we have multiple properties for them to choose from when they return. And I usually somehow slip in my review the name of my company. So even though I don't say like LLC, I think they pick up the gist because a lot of them later on directly book with me. And I do that. I submit it right on the review. Why? Other people read those reviews. So I'm kind of dual marketing there. All right. So is your property suited for a short-term rental? Whoop, I think I messed on the screen there. Can you guys still see me?
We can see your screen.
Okay, good deal.
Totally. We don't see anything else that's going on. We just
Well,
see your screen.
I just moved all my slides. All right. Getting ahead of myself. All right. So is your property suited for a short-term rental? And this is my criteria, you guys. You're totally, anything is game. But for me, I like the smaller units. And why? Because it matches my target market. My personal target market are displaced housing, so insurance clients, as well as solo travelers and business travelers. For us here in Huntsville, Alabama, we have Redstone Arsenal and NASA, and that's kind of the heartbeat of our city. And a lot of the foot traffic here in town is actually for business trips alone. So for me, 2-bedroom, 2-bath or smaller is ideal. And here's why. Furnishing it, I can furnish that property anywhere from $2,500, $3,000 up to between $5,000 and $6,000. The utility costs are less per month because it's a smaller dwelling, as well as cleaning costs. So cleaning costs are reduced, and the cleaning ladies can get in there and get out of there within the opening. So between like 11 a.m. checkout and then 3 p.m. check-in. A question I always ask myself, and this was like the bare bones of my beginning marketing research. I didn't know how to really find the numbers and the stats of what represented a good cash flowing property, but I knew some basics. And one of those is me as a woman, would I walk down the street at night? Would I be comfortable there? So I think being able to answer that question and not really classify by looking it up and saying, oh, this is a class C, class B, class A property. Just ask yourself, do you feel secure there? It's really, even if your property is beautiful, and even if you've really done a good job decorating, it's hard for people to get past not feeling secure. So I will really encourage you, even if it's not a destination property, that people need to feel a sense of security outside the home. Ideally, amenities are close by. It needs to be clean, but not necessarily updated. So if it doesn't have granite, if it doesn't have hardwood floors, no big deal, right? You can actually leverage the furniture by getting certain trending designs. And a lot of people will overlook that updated or not factor. And that's a cheap, easy thing to do. I don't have it in this PowerPoint, but I can send it to Wendy. I have what we call a honey hole list. And my honey hole list is a list of places where I purchase our furniture. So I order those from like Sofa Mania, different vendors on Amazon that I use. I can send it to you. So people who are booking an Airbnb versus a hotel, they prefer private parking. They do prefer a full-size kitchen. The caveat there, people don't really care if there's a dishwasher or not, but everything else needs to be available, as well as on-site washer and dryer. You will get more bookings if you allow pets. I will say, I do not advertise that I allow pets. If I do allow pets, I ask quite a few questions about that pet. Has it ever bitten? What's the breed? How old is it? Is it an indoor, outdoor pet, or both? That kind of lets me know what am I getting into, as well as if it's a small pet, $250 non-refundable pet fee, and then an additional $50 per month if they're staying extended stay. But that's my rule. If they're there for a week, they're going to pay that $250 if they want to bring their pet. So that's just what I've put out there. And I think I really probably ward off a lot of the undesirable pets in that way. Of course, having a fenced yard is great. Another thing, if you say no pets at your property and you show a picture of that fenced in yard, they will bring their pet. So note to self, either A, don't show a picture of the backyard fully enclosed, or make an opening. So I have removed the gates intentionally. So, all right, market research. So what will your occupancy rate? Is there demand in your area? In the beginning, I kept things real basic, like I said. I guess my dad, he used to tell me, Leash, you could totally have a PhD if that was for post hole digging, you know? That's a good old Southern Alabama thing, but it was really a basic methodology whenever I first started acquiring these things. I knew that these extended stay hotels like the DoubleTree, the Marriott, these guys had done millions of research before they built one of these buildings. I knew that if I was within 5 miles of that building and I was charging 80% of their going rate prices, then I knew that I could siphon out some of their clients, some of their business, and that worked perfectly. I did not have a problem. Most of my properties that were city central, I'm slowly expanding out into like the tier 2 area of Huntsville now. I'm going outside the city, but whenever I first started being right there up against these hotels, I had around a 92, 93% occupancy rate. So beautiful thing. I didn't struggle with that. But for your own market research and data, here is an example of AirDNA.
Most of them.
Yeah, so airdna.co. So AirDNA is a data aggregator. What does that mean? They pull from websites like booking.com, Airbnb, VRBO, HomeAway, all these sites. They compress all the data into an easy read, changing instantly format for you to vet your city or your zip code or your micro communities, okay? So Huntsville, as an example, has an A negative rating. Well, if we know anything about going to school, A minus isn't too bad, as well as the average occupancy rate citywide, 76%. And at the time, whenever I pulled this, the average nightly rate was $99. I will encourage you, if you're like me and you have a research-based area, so like we have the Arsenal, we have Research Park, which is going to be like a lot of the corporate sector. You need to call around to some of those companies like Boeing and ask what their nightly per diem is for a lot of their higher up executives. That per diem will give you a good idea, and you want to price slightly below that. So our per diem on average is between like $96 and $102 a night. So if you just think about that, $100 a night times 30 nights, that's $3,000 a month for one property. And most mine are 2-bedroom, 1 bath or smaller. So that's a beautiful thing. I will say I never estimate on all 30 nights, which is 100% occupancy. I think it's a much safer bet to say 80% occupancy, which is 24 nights. Okay. So that nightly rate times your 24 nights. But if you want to understand this even deeper, there's a tool on airdna.co. If you go on the left-hand side, there's a little invest tab, and under the invest, you do not have to have a paid account. You have to create an account and log in, but not have a paid account to use the rentalizer tool. So you're going to input the address, the bedroom, the bath, and how many people actually sleep in that property. According to AirDNA, they say that a safe cap rate is when your final number comes out to be 8% or higher. My personal is 10% plus. Most of my properties fall between 12% and 17%. Okay, so beautiful, beautiful thing. But I'm going to strongly encourage you to keep hunting for that 10% cap rate whenever you plug in all your numbers, because it's possible. And I don't think that you have to necessarily change your buy box. I think that you should change the particular property, like keep hunting. You're going to find it, as well as be okay, be comfortable going a little bit outside of your market or outside of your comfort zone to find that 10% plus cap rate. Okay. There's really no problem with that. In general, the idea for Airbnb and short-term rental marketing, I've heard anyways, is you want to be within a driving distance from that property. So I'm going to say approximately 5 to 6 hour drive. You want to be able to hop in the car on a Friday, go there, stay in your Airbnb, enjoy it, right? And do those mild repairs or make sure everything is up to date the way that you like it, right? As opposed to across the country, it is a little bit harder to do that. But I'll tell you, I have friends who they strictly stick with what's called a rental arbitrage method, which is also referred to as master leasing or lease to lease, as the young 20-somethings call it. This method, I have friends who do 150 units plus, and they're not even in the same country. Okay. Wow, that's brave. Braver than I feel like I have to be. And in my business, I don't feel like I have to grow exponentially super fast. The returns are so good here that I'm comfortable. I've done really, really well, and I just kind of acquire steadily and don't feel like you have to rush into building a huge portfolio. But soon, you guys, there's going to be a form on my website. It's alishamerriman.com, and the form is going to be labeled running the numbers. Now, I have a form already ready to go. My assistant created it for me on how I run the numbers on a lot of my rehabs, but this is a running the number sheet specifically for Airbnb short-term rental. Okay, so that should be up soon. Let's see, who is your target market? So these are generally who you're going to focus your marketing on. It's up to you to pick. So like I said, my ideal house is a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 2-bedroom, 2 bath and smaller. I have friends who their ideal house, let's take Walter Woodford, for example, Wendy. His properties are like 5-bedroom plus. Why? He is perfectly happy taking that same property. So he did the deal one time. Doing the deal is often the hard part, getting everything going. And now he's welcoming families, let's say like one side of a family for like a wedding host, party. And they're all going to stay in the same dwelling. And he's going to make $300, $400, $500 per night, depending on the season. So his returns are much, much larger, right? Just something to think about. But your target market could be vacationers, hipsters. And if it is vacation and hipsters, make sure you really focus in on that design, because having those, and I'm going to use the word bougie finishes, like a lot of bright colors and velvets and leather, these things matter to these people. Graduate students, and I want you to scroll down to the bottom of this list. You see where it says traveling nurses discounts and graduate students discounts? it's very common in these groups of people for them to come to you and say, I see that you've stated that this is your extended stay discounted rate. Are you willing to go 30% lower? Well, I'm here to tell you, one, you don't have to. The place will probably get booked with or without you providing that discount. So if you want to be a good human being, you're welcome to do that. But do not feel like you have to be desperate. Never be desperate for this booking, okay? But those two categories of people, often they get told in their field as they're searching for housing, like, hey, ask them for X discount, and they do that. Retirees, home builder clients. So this is one of it for us in Huntsville because we have a boom. Essentially, I was told by my appraiser, there are 600 more jobs, 900 more jobs starting the next 6 months compared to all available housing in our city. That's a problem. So there are tons of home builders here. Not only do they have their contractors staying, but their clients are looking for a place to go while their home is being built. So that's a big part of my market. Refinery workers, military, business travelers, displaced housing for insurance. And I'm going to put this out there, and it's not to say ever take advantage of an opportunity or a situation neglectfully, I guess. But insurance companies with displaced housing, they really don't care what your rent rate is. If they need housing and they contact you and it suits their client's needs, they will pay it. I'm just putting it out there, okay? Insurance is kind of a golden nugget in this business, but entertainment industry workers and then traveling welders. These are some of the top target markets that I come across. Ooh, I did it again. This thing's touchy. All right, so who's on your team? This is specifically targeted to when you're starting out. So I'm going to say like 6 properties and less. I know Ryan and Amy, they're on, and once you cross like that 5th property and you find yourself in there cleaning, you go, this is enough. I'm not going to keep doing this. And, part of that is that you're bringing in such a large amount of money that you can't afford to pay someone else to do it, right? So your spread is starting to increase per month. But when you're starting, a cleaning lady, depending on how big your unit is, this is a condo apartment, $50 and $95 per cleaning. This is often passed on to the guest. I will say that whenever I set up my cleaning fee for my guest, I make sure that I'm making a 5% profit off of their the actual cleaning fee, because I want the labor taken care of. But then I'm also throwing in some things like the garbage bags and the cleaning supplies, even though that gets reused, like the sprays and stuff. But spread it out and make sure you try to collect about 5% extra on top of that fee to the guest.
Alisha, I'm finding in my market in the Carolinas that I'm paying, I think, $95 for my smallest unit.
Ooh.
And I'm up to $150 on certain, like a 4-bedroom.
Wow.
But I also tend to, my cleaners are also the people that go out and buy the products to refill and restock. So I'm putting more responsibility on them for what they're doing. And yes, I try to do a 10% profit on what I'm charging. And I never get a kickback on the cleaning fee that I charge online. I never get a kickback from that. Like nobody complains about it.
Well, good. Yeah, that's good. Good to know. I did it again, you guys. But yeah, those rates are higher than what I expected, Wendy. Dang. But you're right. So in my case, I look at my cleaners as kind of my hound dog in the house. Like they're looking for any repairs that need to be done, right? Broken furniture, restocking. They are the eyes and ears that go in and out of my properties. I haven't cleaned, and this is going to sound snooty booty, but I haven't cleaned one of my own houses since like 2019. But the cleaners really do absorb a lot of that foot traffic, and they're your eyes and ears. So having a reliable cleaner and one that you really are specific with. So our ladies might get like a list, and that list is specific for that property. So any quirks that it has, the back door don't latch very well, we let them note these little things. Lawn care. So our lawn care during the season runs between $40 and $50 every 2 weeks in the summer month. And I will say that whenever you hire this lawn care company, you need to make sure that upon receiving that invoice, that you actually got before and after pictures, like specifically request this at each property, because I've had them tell me, yeah, we went by and we mowed, here's your bill. And I go by there and the same day and the property is not mowed, it's not taken care of. And I after a couple of times of that slipping by me, I decided I request pictures before and after every mow at every property every 2 weeks. And that's also me getting an update that, hey, this is done. But they are on their own schedule. They know when to come by. That's the easiest way where you don't have to send out reminders. If you've got a lawn care company where you're constantly saying, hey, can you get by? Nope, you need to move on to the next one. Handyman. So I have one for day and one for nighttime. And I've let them know their position. Hey, I'm going to call you between the hours of 7 a.m. and 4 or 5 p.m. And when you do this, when you have that conversation, I think it's fair to go ahead and be kind of straightforward and say, look, you are the eyes and ears. You're the figurehead to my company. You're representing me when you walk in. Please walk in clean, well kept, well spoken, right? Everything like present yourself, okay? You are on stage for my company. And so when you're vetting that particular handyman, make sure he kind of meets that criteria in general, not the plumber with his crack hanging out, like let all that move on, okay? And then also have one handyman who knows that anytime that you get a middle of the night call, you're going to call him, like that's his position. And take care of these handymen. If not, you're going to find yourself at a property at 10 p.m. digging a Hot Wheels out of a toilet. Okay, so take good care of these guys. Another thing to think about is a virtual assistant. So you can hire virtual assistants in the Philippines, and these individuals can take over a lot of the marketing and the communication with your guest. Okay. So their secondary language, which they use very often, is English. They don't have an accent, which turns off a lot of English customers, right? And they're also very affordable. So anywhere between $4 and $6 an hour is, fairly common to find. And you can actually vet these pre-seasoned virtual assistants through Upwork. UPWORK, Upwork.com is where we have found some of our best virtual assistants. As we move forward in all these slides, I want you to pay special attention to the red boxes with the star on them. These are apps, like phone apps, computer apps, that you can use to make this entire process more less stressful, streamlined, right? So trying to automate all the little tasks that you do, specifically for cleaning and maintenance, I use Turnover B&B. That's been my favorite one. But I don't think there's a huge difference in any of them. All right. So the micros of Airbnb. So let's get down into the details. So once you first get your property, it's easy to vet things, get things going, and be like, okay, we've made it. Well, now you're like, now what? What do we do? That's where a lot of my clients find themselves. They go, oh, what's next? All right. So I'm going to try to move this screen over. I don't think I'm very successful at it. Oh, nope, I'm not. I just change screen every time. All right. Previous. So you guys, the breath of life in this is the marketing, avoiding vacancy. And all that boils down to an algorithm. Whenever we're talking about Airbnb, especially like specifically here, but an algorithm dictates whether or not this business is going to be successful or not for you. So you could have the most beautiful furnishings and the most beautiful pictures, but if you've poorly put yourself out there to the world, so your description isn't done correctly, if you don't have all the correct little buttons checked off, then no one's going to see the wonderful work you've done. Okay. So whenever you open up your Airbnb account, there's going to be 3 steps to your listing. A step 1, step 2, step 3. And the first part of that, what I get a lot from people is, oh my gosh, my fully furnished house is going to be just, the address is going to be put out there. No, it's not. Your exact address is not told to the guests until after they pay, until after it's been booked. Okay. So they just get a general area at first. And something to note, Superhost make 2 times as much. So if you can hit that Superhost status, which is not hard. Do you know how many times you've become a Superhost, Wendy? I think I'm like 10 plus.
I've got Superhost my first quarter in, and that was 5 years ago,
Okay.
and have been able to maintain it.
Well, good. Yeah, I don't think I've ever fallen below their standard, but yeah, it's fairly easy to get it. And I've got a tip in here on how I did it the first time and how you can actually do it the first time. Some channel managers that you can consider putting your property on outside of Airbnb down here in the red box are going to be VRBO, Booking.com, TripAdvisor, and Rentals United. So there's another area where I tell some more. All right. Photos, you want light and bright. There's really no need for more than 50. The people aren't buying this house. Let's keep it in mind. And underneath every single picture, include a caption, okay? And a part of this is you're doing what Airbnb, what they're telling you to do. They're requesting this, and when they do, you're actually moved up in the algorithm for such a silly thing, putting words underneath every single picture. But let's not include the things that are obvious. So in this one picture, we might say high-speed internet, right? We might say memory foam mattress, mosquito-controlled patio. Like, say something that they don't just look at the picture and go, yeah, I can see that, you know? Don't say the obvious. But those captions that you include are actually searchable. So let's say that there was a particular wording that you wanted to show up. Let's say it was a condo, and it being a private condo mattered a lot, having a private entrance. I would state that again underneath the picture as well as in my ad, because now when someone's searching Airbnb or searching the web, those became meta tags. In other words, they became searchable whenever it's under the caption.
Okay, nugget, something I didn't know. That's good stuff. And I love that. Obviously, under a picture, you should put something like high-speed internet rather than office or desk. And that never dawned on me. What a dope. Great stuff. And the other thing too is make sure it's a professional photographer taking your pictures. It's $150 or less to have a photographer come out and take pictures, and it just makes such a huge difference. Good stuff, Alisha.
Thank you, dear. Yeah, it is. I highly recommend a professional. 90% of my stuff is done by professional, and I have a nice ADD camera. Like I have the software to do that, and I still leave it to the professionals. They're going to think about things that you're not. They're going to put down that toilet seat. They're going to open the curtains and, make it bright area. They're going to open up the doors to flood in light, even in a hallway, right? So those kind of things, photographers are amazing. All right. So this is actually one of my listings. I want you to take notice here. Generally, if you were uploading the photos to your Airbnb, you'd start with the exterior, and then you would start with the living room, and then it would be all pictures of the living room. My first 5 photos, if you notice here, are 5 different areas. Okay. So the first 5 photos should display, this is your first impression. It should display 5 different areas of the house. I personally have selected to go with the living room as my first photo, as opposed to the exterior of the house. I think that you put yourself out there for potential vandalism when you're on an open platform and you have a general area of your house. So this house is pink, flower pot pink by Bear. And so anyone in the neighborhood would look at the exterior picture. They could click on my calendar and go, oh, it's vacant. I'm setting myself up potentially for a bad situation by having my calendar there as well as an exterior picture. So I kind of, I'm able to, I feel like anyways, prevent some potential issues of vandalism by not putting the exterior out there. It's further in the listing. Okay.
Okay, I have to ask you, where'd you get that picture of the big face? Is that a is that a rug? Is it a picture? What is that? It's super cool.
That is a 4-piece mural. I have, it's called like the Lace Lady of something, and I ordered it on Walmart.com of all places, and
Wow.
it's available on Amazon, all kinds of places, but I got it cheapest there, and it was $70. And
That
it
is
is
super
huge.
cool.
It's 8 feet tall. It's huge.
And it just sticks right to the wall?
It does. It goes right to the wall. We put paste on the wall and we rolled it out. And whenever I was doing design for clients, I always called myself, my company, which was never really a company, I was just doing my thing, Soul Piercing Designs. My thing was I wanted to make sure that when a husband and wife walked into my house, in the first 15 seconds, I wanted her to slap his chest and say, I've got to have it. And if I didn't do that, then I didn't do my job. So the moment people walk in, I have hung, we've hung Volkswagen hoods. We hung a stuffed alligator. We hung all kinds of stuff right when you walk in. So we like to do that.
Super cool.
Another thing is a catchy title. So I told one of my friends to put a catchy title on his thing, and he said, skip the hotel. And that was it. That was his catchy title. I was like, come on. So we always were very fun and flirty with our titles. We really think about them. So one I have is the King's Estate at Lazy Creek. So Lazy Creek, it already sounds like kind of chill. And then the King's Estate is because there's 4 king beds in the property, right? So things like that. This one is called the Executive. Now the whole neighborhood calls my house the Executive. And you know who stays there? Executives. So we kind of called that into being. Victorian penthouse of 5 points. We call ours the Downtown Hub. We have the Tea Room, the City Central Gym, right? Spelled like GEM. So we have some really catchy names for our properties, and you can just do some Google searching. We have the Bird Bath Abode. All right. Step 2, whenever you're doing your descriptions, my assistant did a lot of research into this of how the best top performing properties on Airbnb, how they actually designed their descriptions. Okay. So the first part of your description, all you need to know is use bullet points. You want to just break down that property very quickly. If people want to read further on, this is the next part. There's a spot called, there's a description, which is bullet points. And then there's a spot called optional, your space. In this description, this is where you actually make it a very descriptive. And now, which I put this on here a while back, but now we actually break it down per room. And it's a descriptive walkthrough. I want you to describe the house from the door, the front door to the back door, as if you were walking through the property, okay? That's how you should describe it, from front to back. All right. So communication, making it automatic. So there are things called APIs or PMS, property management software, or they're also referred to as channel managers. They can do the same thing. This software, if you see in the bottom red square, those are some of the top performing nationally recognized softwares. For me, I'm in the middle of changing. Wendy, last time you spoke to me, I was married to Guesty, this bottom one. I have since cut ties and we are in the process of reuniting with our property management software under Smart B&B. Smart B&B is the one I chose to go with, and here's the reason why. Guesty, as great as it was, I got sold on the bells and whistles of this, you know, the Lamborghini of all property management softwares, and I really didn't need it. I found that on the day-to-day grind, all the extras, I wasn't using it. And for a quarter, half to a quarter of the price, I could use Smart B&B, also referred to as Hostable now. And I got everything done that I needed to do. And so, not to hate on Guesty, I think that if your portfolio is 20 houses or more and you're using very luxury houses, you might need those additional bells and whistles that the software offers. But for me, I'm just a Southern girl who's been blessed, and I think I can handle it all on Smart B&B between me and my executive assistant. So that's what we decided to go with. But this is the software where you can auto all your responses. So at booking, before they check out, right? And these things can eliminate a lot of the issues, as well as the software offers AI, which is artificial intelligence. So if the guest writes you in about what's the Wi-Fi password, you can automatically set up a response where if they say something about Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi password, where they instantly get sent the username and password. You can set that up where it's done for you. You want to eliminate as much communication as you can, as well as I want you to over inundate them with information when they check in. You want to be able to give them a guest book, instructions. You want to give them pictures. So if your guest book, it can have pictures in it of what the property looks like with the cabinets open. What does the property look like looking out the window, right? So as much information as you can give them, they will read it before they contact you. That's been my experience anyways, is most people, they try to like shuffle through that information before they bother you. One way that we do this is we have a laminated bulletin board. These are 7 different pages that we use. And when I didn't laminate them, I don't know why, people took them home. So please laminate your bulletin boards, but you can get a really nice template from an Etsy. Etsy is a online platform, a lot like eBay or Amazon. And the name of the store is How to Host. And she makes these flyers for you, and you just plug in your information. And you can have these laminated and put them up in your units, and they look really, really pretty and classy, almost like a photo, almost like a picture on the wall. So something that you want to make sure that you send your guests on your automatic self-check-in process is a picture of the front of the house, the best places to park. You can change the code on the door lock to the last 4 of their phone number. Ooh, so if you have like a digital system for that, they find that as a very personal touch, and they know that you thought about them, right? So taking this hosting experience or the guest experience from the host to a new level. So for us, we do custom reminder lists. We spoke about this to the cleaning staff, as well as a to get supply list. So what items are normally in our property? If your cleaning staff, be that a new person or an old person who needs to be reminded, it's good for them to be able to run through that list and say coffee, toilet paper, paper towels, pump shampoo, right? So seeing what's missing, all right? This also prevents you from having to go back to the property, so why not? And one way that you can stay in touch with all of your cleaners, your maintenance, is by utilizing Google Documents. So Google has a way where you can send it and update instantly. Like me and my assistant, my executive assistant, her calendar and mine, we have it one calendar where it's synced for both of us, so she can see what's going on in my day. All right, here's just an example of a couple things that are on my bulletin board, like the house rules, activities, local activities. So if you notice, I put like the name of the place, how much ticket for admission is, and how far it is from the house, right? So they can instantly look at that and go, oh, we can walk there. So in other words, the bike share place is less than a 0.5 mile away. Local restaurants, the day that trash is picked up, emergency water shut off. That's an easy one to forget. Emergency electric shut off in the event something happens. To go apps. Well, in COVID days, it's pretty easy to know what food you can get to go, but back then, whenever I had this made, not necessarily. Here's one paper that is not laminated that hangs my bulletin board. And guys, the point of this piece of paper, it's hanging there with a pin, is for them to get their negative complaints out on a physical sheet of paper, and they feel better about it, that they let you know what you didn't do, what you didn't provide them. And instead of it going on your review list, it went on this piece of paper, at which time your cleaner plucked it off the wall and gave it to you, or took a picture of it, and then they put up a new one. And essentially, it's an improvement list. And it says, please let us know what we have overlooked that is broken, missing, or needing our attention. Your guest will use this, but once they get that negative comment out, no longer are they going to put it on that review. Never have I had someone who left, the bed has a stain, the grill was out of gas, none of these things ever made it to my review board. All right, so stocking the house. You have the opportunity to get a free ultimate host checklist at alishamerriman.com. Whenever you sign up, it says like put in your email and we'll send it to you. And so you're welcome to go there and get that. That's up and running right now. But these are some things that I think are easy to not think about whenever you're first starting an Airbnb. So let's go over some of it. And owner's pantry with a lock. So we order locks off of Amazon that we used to order the kind with the code or with a key, but we don't do that anymore because it got too confusing putting keys away. But they have a digital rolling lock on them. So like a 4-digit PIN code to do a bolt action unlock. But that owner's pantry is a place where you can put like a second set of linens. So let's say you do have a larger property and your cleaning lady can't get everything done in the 3 to 4 hour window. Well, you put a second set of towels. Generally, it's 2 towels per occupant. So if it sleeps 4, you would put 8 towels and a second set of linen per bed. And essentially, they can pull those out, take the soiled linens, put it in a bag, tie it up, and sit it out front or wherever, whatever you want to do with it. Go ahead and put it in the wash, whatever's best for you. Or I've had students who actually have their cleaners drop it off at a local cleaning service. So at a dry cleaner or washer, right? Totally up to you. Food, you want to make sure that there's not common allergens. Let's put it this way. Long trip, who's generally the first one out of the car? It's children. And they're going to make a beeline in that house and they're going to grab that peanut butter bar right off the top of the microwave and they're going to shove it in their mouth and they might be allergic to peanut butter. So being thoughtful about common allergens is something I don't allow my restocking crew. I don't let them put any of that kind of stuff out. I actually hand pick it. And we have the same stuff every single time from Sam's Club because we reorder it and it's simple. But using little cheap extension cords behind the beds and behind the couch, they're going to know that you thought about them to plug up their phone. They don't have to pull out the bed to plug up their CPAP machine, right? That cord's hanging out. Using digital locks with a manual backup lock. So, Wendy, you might have been with us down in Cuba. Whenever I was in Cuba, you were, yeah, okay. When I was down in Cuba, of course, I get a call from this guy, and he says, the battery has died on the lock to get into the house. I'm like, oh my goodness. So now it's protocol for us to have the digital lock. They don't get the code to the manual lock unless they call. But there is always a physical lockbox there with a key inside that they can open up. We like to use TLC and Westinghouse 4K Roku TVs. They're very inexpensive. As you can see a picture here, this one was like 58 inches and it's $259. Can you really beat that? They're smart TVs, so you don't have to buy a Roku separately. Most people like to stream their services now, as well as far as hacking goes, people breaking into a Roku account is much harder than breaking into a Amazon account. So I personally prefer the Rokus over the Amazon sticks, okay? And these have built-in Roku, so you don't have to pay extra for it. And on that note, each one of my houses gets its own email address. So if it's like 416 Holmes Avenue, it would get 416homes@gmail.com. And every single house gets its own Roku account. Okay. And I do that because I have them all under one big corporate housing Huntsville account. And someone at one of my houses did a factory reset. And it reset because there's all one account. Different login links for the apps because you can only have so many TVs on one app. But it reset the entire portfolio. Oh my gosh. So now I had to take a week and go one by one at their schedule when they were off work, show up at their house and reset all their TVs. What a mess. So put each house its own email account as well as its own Roku account, and that's what you log in with. All right. So duvet covers, you want white. Why? White screams luxury, as well as they can look at white towels, white linen, and white duvet, and they know that it's instantly clean. There is no question about it, okay? And in the day of COVID, you definitely want people to feel that sense that it has been taken care of. Pump shampoo. So we prefer pumps over the little clips because your cleaning ladies never can fully get those clean. With the pumps, they just run it under hot water and it gets all the debris off, right? And they refill it. Mattresses, we like the 12-inch memory foam mattresses ourselves. If you have to, you can go with 10, but you're going to get the compliments on the 12-inch. We like platform beds because we don't actually have to buy a box frame. You can buy just a metal frame with no box spring required, and it saves you like, $300-400 per bedroom. And we like to order mattress covers with zippers, okay? And this is if you are not using the newest, brightest, cleanest mattress, this is a for sure, as well as prevent bed bugs. So my cleaning ladies on their list, they go through and they pop up the bottom of the bed, and if there are little bitty speckles on the bottom of that vinyl zipped cover, they know that there is some kind of pest in the house. We've actually never had that problem as far as like bed bugs go, but we've been accused of it. But here in Alabama, we sure do get a lot of ladybugs. And so people thought that they were bed bugs, a bed bug invasion. It's not. Welcome to the beautiful, humid state of Alabama. All right, some Superhost tips. This is how I became a Superhost in the beginning. Guys, I asked for it. I asked for what I wanted. And every single guest, I told them, hey, we're new to this business. And, you're our second guest to host. I was so thrilled to try to encourage this status, the Superhost status. And we would leave a card, and the card would have it's a thank you card with a $10 gift card inside to the closest restaurant. And this is what we would say. Thanks for choosing us to be your host. We hope to earn your 5-star review. Here's a free drink on us down at the tavern. Let us know if you need anything. We hope you enjoy your stay. The Durbans. It's short. It's sweet. I told them what I wanted, and here's $10 in exchange. I was real clear. Okay. And you know what? It worked. On every single house, I wanted to get the first 10 reviews because you actually trigger something in the algorithm after you've gotten 10 positive reviews. They don't have to be 5-star, just positive, okay? So you actually get beefed up. Your listing ranks higher in your city overall after the first 10 positive. So there you go. Avoiding vacancy. You want to get on your cell phone. The app is really easy to use. And every single house I open the calendar at least once a day. Whenever you're considered an active host on Airbnb, again, you just triggered the algorithm, okay? So just opening that calendar once a day, you trigger this by pushing your listings up in the ranking. Leave the cleaning window at least 3 hours for sheets and towels. Tons of people ask to check in early, but you kind of got to hold strong to this rule if you can't accommodate that. Let the neighbors know. So just like your cleaners, your neighbors will become your watchdogs. Instead of them peering out, looking at your house since it's recently been acquired and they're going, oh, I bet they're running an Airbnb. No, go over there, knock on the door, and I let them all know, hi, my name's Alisha Merriman. This property is now a corporate housing rental and or a short-term rental property. We do not welcome people with pets, and we do not allow events and parties at our property. If you see that going on, here's my name, here's my number, please call me. They're going to call you before they call the police. Okay, so that's good. As well as now, curiosity is not going to kill the cat in the neighborhood. Instead, they've been welcomed to be your eyes and ears because you're not there. Let them do that. Okay. Buying furnishings and using Beta Club helpers. So this is always fun. Beta Club for us locally are the straight A's, students, top of their class. So people that the coaches and teachers would recommend. I go down to the local high school and I say, hey, who's your beta club teacher? And I get their contact and I write them an email and say, I'd love to hire some of your top students for $10 an hour to do a gig this weekend. And essentially I get these students to come over to our property. I have all the furnishings that I've ordered from Amazon and Lighthouse and Rugs USA and Sofa Mania. I have all these boxes sitting there and I equipped them with Allen wrenches. And for $10 an hour, they read the instructions, they put together all my furniture, and I leave the furniture on the inside of the room, the boxes, they put it together, and then they place the finished furniture up against the walls. I go through and I ask my guys to tighten, go back and retighten because the kids never seem to crank down real hard. They don't want to break the stuff. So I have my contractors retighten all the Allens, and then I place the pictures around the walls where I want to be hung. They put them up and we're good to go. We're off to the races. We can generally fully furnish a place once all the boxes have arrived in about a day and a half to 2 days. So we put it together.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. Okay. So we're like 20 minutes over and I don't want to stop you because we've got nobody's left. Everybody's still here. So
we're close to the end.
And I don't know if you see all the comments, but
I don't know.
Kill me if I stopped it right now. I just got a thing that said don't stop. So I do have a hard stop at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
But I just wanted to let you know this is absolutely amazing. Keep going, but there is a hard stop.
All right. Well, we won't hold you up too much longer, but I want you to take note of the dynamic pricing. Guys, in the beginning, this is the software, the revenue management software that I said changed my life by anywhere from $750 to $1,000 per month per property. Now multiply that by 10, multiply that by 5. That's almost $5,000 a month. Like, yes, I use pricelabs.co and I'm going to recommend any of these. Any is better than nothing. All right. He who markets is he who wins, guys. Whenever I am listing a property, even if it's listed short term, I'm still going to put it out there in the world as a month-to-month rental at my short-term rate. Okay, I might give them a 10% discount, but if I know that property can be booked on Airbnb and I don't have a vacancy problem, I'm really not going to drop my price too much. But I do a paid ad on Zillow. You can do 3 months worth of a recurring ad for around $19, $20. Facebook Marketplace, again, you can do a paid ad, VRBO, and Airbnb. So essentially my calendar looks like this. I have multiple 30-day bookings. And then there might be like a 2 or 3 week opening in between. I fill those in with single night or double night bookings. Now, I will say I don't allow at all my properties a single night booking because you run into the problem of staycations, okay? So people who are from the same city you're from, and they're going to go to your house for one night and they're going to party because all their friends are going to come over because they're from here. So I avoid staycations and dropping my price to below normal averages because I'm attracting undesirable clients, okay? Build a website for direct bookings. So I have just a basic Wix website, and I also have a Google Sites website, which a Google Sites website linked to your GoDaddy domain is free forever. If you have a Gmail account, you have access to something called Google Sites, and it is free forever. It's out there, okay? So you can take that website and you can link it to Yelp, which is a search engine optimization. You can do that through Google. So getting that little Google landing page where people click on your website, or TripAdvisor. These are all really good platforms that feed people back just to call you. When they click on that property to get the current rate, they don't see my current rate. What they get is a pop-up that says a request for vacancy and pricing request tool. And what that is, it's just a link to my email. So that's what I've put in place. You want to be able to call the sales managers. For me, I have a list of sales managers for home builders in my city. When I have a vacancy, I send them a digital flyer, like via email, for that property, for that specific one. And I help fill in my calendar and I avoid vacancy that way. You can always put an extended stay rental sign in the yard. I would never say Airbnb on a sign because the neighborhood instantly envisions like this party happening at this house. Always say a little more delightful, welcoming terms like extended stay, short-term rental, or corporate housing rental, okay? Facebook groups and pages. So your Facebook group, you can have your own specific page for your company, as well as all the for sale by owner, for rent by owner. These pages, if you word it correctly, you can put your short-term rentals in there, and you're kind of vague about it. You just say, hey, this is our house. This is the price we're hoping to get. It's fully furnished. If you're interested, let us know. You keep it real vague. Rent links down there at the bottom. This is another data aggregator. So you put one unit on this website, and it's going to shoot it out to Trulia, Zillow, all these big platforms, and it's going to refeed people back to your phone number or your email address. All right, you guys, this is who I work for. This is my little one. Her name is Rowan. And if you want to contact me, you're welcome to do so at Alisha Merriman. As Wendy said, I am going to be one of the speakers at Dealmaker 2022, and that's a website, Dealmaker 2022. You can actually buy a ticket to that event from Jim Ingersoll. He is such a doll, and he has invited me there. And Wendy's going to be there, of course. So if you guys have any questions, just let us know. Oh, Wendy, can't hear you. Wendy.
Sorry. Okay. So that was amazing. I mean, you even got an all caps. Oh my, what a Sonrisers this morning. Thanks so much. Thank you, Wanda. I mean, it's, if I don't know if you can see the chat, but it's loaded up. Girl.
I couldn't see any of you guys for whatever reason. Your pictures all got moved off screen. And so other than when you spoke up.
I do have a question. Brian says, for direct bookings, are you afraid of squatters?
Okay, so for direct bookings, if they are 30 days or less, I am not worried about squatters. Often I will have them book through the Airbnb platform where they are verified. And also I could go back relying on the Airbnb insurance if needed, but I have my own insurance for short-term rentals, and I have that through NREG, which is National Real Estate Insurance Group.com. NREG.com is who covers me in the event there is a vacancy or eviction or someone who won't leave, like this kind of problem. But 30 days or less, I point them back at Airbnb. If I offered them a special offer, they get that special discount sent to their profile directly on Airbnb. If they are 31 days or more with me, we do require a 650 credit score, no evictions, no bankruptcies, and I run a background screening at their cost and a credit check at their cost, a total of $24.99. And I do that by sending them a link to their email from apartments.com. Apartments.com is how I run my background screenings and my credit score. I get that on file, and that's just one step in my due diligence to reserve my calendar. Let's say they're 30 days out. I'm going to request $200. And if they don't show up for their reservation for that holding deposit, it's non-refundable. If they do show up for their reservation, it's applied towards rent. Okay. I already went over how much I charge for pets. I do charge a cleaning fee for my 31 days or more. But yeah, I will also do a security deposit, but with extended stay rentals, so that 31 day plus reservation, I do not go down the traditional path of it matching the rent. So if it's a $1,800 extended stay rental for a 1-bedroom per month, then I might do like a $400 security deposit.
Awesome. And I see Robert Kelly corrected me on the website for that insurance company you were talking about in the chat. So here's a couple of things I want everybody to know. Down at the bottom right hand of your screen, if you've got your chat box open, down at the bottom right are 3 little dots. If you press on the 3 dots, you can save the chat. Also on that chat, I have put several times the link for you to sign up to get the Sonrisers reminders every week, so that you can get on that list, and I can send stuff to you like these recordings for one, and the link to this recording. In addition, it will be posted on our Sonrisers Facebook page as well. So know that that's coming to you. Everybody's dying to get a copy of this. Alisha, I think you've outdone yourself, although I didn't know that was possible, but you did. So good stuff. My goodness, it was really good. There's people on here that says I don't even have Airbnbs and I can't get off of the call. So they're really loving what you've shared with us. Thank you so very much. Folks, you can get this, see how good she is. There's like 20 other people that are also her caliber that will be at Dealmaker 2020. 20, I'm sorry, I'm 2 years behind, 2022 in Richmond, Virginia with Jim Ingersoll. I posted that all in the chat as well. So Alisha, you are the bomb, chickadee. Thank you so much. And Tom, can you close us in a prayer, my friend? Thank you for hanging in there.
Gracious God, our Father, we thank you for this day. Father, we thank you for Alisha and all of the goodness and greatness that she brought, and all of the thinking outside of the box that she presented to us. And help us, Father, as entrepreneurs to be able to, do our business in a very conscious way that we can help others and help our families and help our country. And so, Father, we just lift you up on this Friday morning in your precious Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Alisha. Thank you, Brian. And thank you, Don Harris. Y'all rock. I love you guys, and we'll see you next week. It's another great show coming up. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Bye, y'all. Bye, Alisha.